Welcome to the latest update video for Survive. Survive is an open-world zombie survival shooter being developed by Subsurface Games. My name is David C., and I am the CEO and Technical Director at Subsurface Games. This will be the last major update to the graphics of the game for a while, so that I can focus 100% of my time on gameplay. The sunrise you just saw is part of a new dynamic time of day system. This system is made up of a few different subsystems. These include the dynamic light shafts, dynamic cloud lighting, and the dynamic sky rendering. Based on the time of day, the sun and the moon will move throughout the sky. The color of the sunlight, the sky, and the cloud lighting will also change according to the time. In addition to the time of day system, I added a full post-processing routine, and created a few post-processing effects. The first effect was the light shafts for the sun and the moon. The next effect I added is screen space ambient occlusion. You can see here that screen space ambient occlusion adds a lot of depth by darkening areas of the world that are close together. This simulates the way light has trouble bouncing into small cracks and crevices. The SSAO method that I implemented makes use of per pixel normals to add more detail to the scene. This method uses a few randomized samples per pixel and then blurs the results to give a cheap dynamic ambient occlusion effect. This is what it looks like without the blur. Because this effect is done in real time, it affects all the dynamic objects in the game, including the zombies and the boxes. You can really see the effects of SSAO when I toggle it on and off. This effect, like all of the other ones that I have implemented, is very tweakable. I can very easily change the radius and the strength of the ambient occlusion to achieve the desired results. Here I'm just going to use some boxes to help this zombie get off the wall, because he's still too dumb to avoid it. That's coming in the next update. Now that I've helped this zombie over here, I can get back to showing off the screen space ambient occlusion. If I freeze time and place a bunch of boxes, you can see how it really darkens the areas where they intersect. As you can see, the game now has a lot of zombies freely wandering around the world. Zombies now have PhysX character controllers and can move from point A to point B with accurate foot placement, locomotion, and physics. I have given them a simple AI that just chooses random points in the world to walk to. As we saw earlier with the zombies stuck on the wall, this is the current extent of their artificial intelligence. But this simple walking from point A to point B will be the basis for all of the zombie AI in the game. I have made some significant internal changes that have laid the groundwork for zombie AI. First off, the game now uses NVIDIA PhysX instead of Bullet for physics simulation. I did this for a few reasons. One of the most important reasons is that it has a more robust character controller, and I needed that for controlling the zombies. The second reason is that it allows me to load zombie ragdolls from a modeling package such as 3ds Max, saving me a lot of time on creating my own physics editor. The final reason I converted to PhysX is so that in the future I can add support for destruction, cloth simulation, and hardware-accelerated particle effects. In addition to the new physics engine, I completely rewrote the game entity system. An entity is just an object in the game world. The entity system now uses a complex component-based model that will significantly speed up development as it allows me to reuse more code. With this new system, implementing all kinds of different AIs, survivor NPCs, and game objects will be significantly easier. With these two important internal changes, I am now ready to start implementing the gameplay of Survive, and we'll be showing it in the next video. The next post-processing effect that I implemented has to do with high dynamic range rendering. HDR rendering is the process of allowing the game to render values much brighter than the normal range of values to an off-screen buffer. Then any pixel value that is over the usual limit of 1 is considered very bright. To show this brightness, a bloom effect is applied. The bloom effect makes those pixels that are over 1 appear brighter by allowing their light to bleed onto other objects in the scene. You can see how the bloom effect brightens parts of the screen when I toggle it on and off. The next effect is the final step in HDR rendering. When these values are over 1, they need to be brought back into the visible range. To do this, a Filmic tone mapping effect is applied. This effect brings the color values of the scene into an acceptable range. You can see the impact of Filmic tone mapping when it's toggled on and off. The final effect I added is Fxaa Anti-Aliasing. Fxaa is a very efficient anti-aliasing technique developed by NVIDIA. It blurs the harsh edges of the scene to produce a much more pleasing image without much performance impact. Again, you can see the difference when I toggle it on and off. The last change I made to the graphics in this update is gamma correct rendering. It is a very simple effect that is necessary for mathematically correct and accurate physically based rendering. This gamma correct rendering will allow for much more realistic graphics in the future. I also implemented a very efficient text rendering system using the FreeType SDK to replace the old built-in OpenGL text rendering functions that I was using. You can see some 2D text in the bottom left displaying the frames per second and some 3D text being rendered in the world. That's it for this update, and thanks for watching. Survive is currently in pre-alpha and is available for pre-order. Once the game enters alpha, the latest builds of the game will be available for download to people who have pre-ordered it. You can follow the development blog and pre-order Survive at subsurfacegames.com. You can get more frequent development news by liking the Facebook page at facebook.com/subsurfacegames. And you can follow me on Twitter at subsurfacegames.